I was talking to almost 70 executives. I say, hey, how often do you scroll past the AI overview or click through? And 98% of them said almost never. And I said, well, what do you think that's going to do to your organic traffic in your leads? And everybody took a step back and they're like, oh, I don't know. I haven't seen that big of an issue yet.
AI isn't the future, it's now. And whether you're in HR, sales, operations, or leadership, the choices you make today will determine whether you thrive or get left behind.
Welcome to a special episode of AI Voice or Victim. And the reason why I am so hyped right now is because I'm in the driver's seat. It's because I'm the boss lady. It's because I got all the questions and he's going to have to give me all the answers. Today is my time to shine, y'all. Greg Boone, welcome to the show. Yep. Welcome to my AI Voice or Victim. How are you today?
I'm doing all right. It's very different. We're usually like the two of us are interviewing someone else.
I know.
Now I'm in the hot seat.
I know. I like it.
I don't like it so much.
I like it. So if anybody has any burning questions, y'all just send them to the text real quick. I'll plug and play. But no, I want to get serious for a minute because you have been talking a lot about the lead flow crisis. And you're dropping these gems all over town when we go speak. But I don't think that everybody really knows what it is when you're talking about this lead flow crisis. And that's where I want to start. I want to dive in. What is it? I want you to explain it to me like I'm 5. And why do we need to pay attention now?
So you're prompting me right now.
Yes, he's my chat.
Yes. I mean, I've been talking about the lead flow crisis for, I guess, at this point, 10 or 11 months. And basically what I was theorizing at the time, but I was, just paying attention to the market. And what I was seeing was that Google was making a radical shift in May of 2024, where they were going to more of AI overviews. And then now they're transitioned to AI mode, and that's slowly but surely rolling out to become the ultimate de facto experience for folks. And what I would say last year to folks, especially last November, December, I would ask the same fundamental question. I was talking to almost 70 executives. I say, hey, how often do you scroll past the AI overview or click through? And 98% of them said almost never. And I said, well, what do you think that's going to do to your organic traffic in your leads? And everybody took a step back and they're like, oh, I don't know. I haven't seen that big of an issue yet. And what I was trying to describe, I said, look, the ocean that was Google that we all fished in dried up in May of 2024 when they started to go to these overviews. And I said, and I'm also not surprised that you're not experiencing that level of decrease in lead flow just yet. I said, because in marketing, a lot of times there's a 6 to 9 month lag between your actions and your results. So if you run the calendar out from May, going into the end of the year, going into January, February, and I got to a point where I was like, all right, if that's not going to get you, how about this? I said, you will never convert me with cold email because there's only 2 forms of cold email, scam and spam, right? And so if you combine these 2 things, it's like, hey, there's a serious lead flow crisis that is coming that's already here. Some folks are feeling it more so than others, whether you're in B2B or media publications. They were feeling it a lot earlier than, say, retail. But at times people were looking at me like I had 2 heads and they were like, I don't know, you're an alarmist. I was like, okay, whatever, right? And so I stopped and I started focusing on Walk West. It's like, all right, well, how do we mitigate the lead flow crisis? But then something happened. And I think around February timeframe, HubSpot goes viral. Right, their blog traffic drops 80% year over year. Everyone's talking about it. HubSpot was already well positioned. They had already diversified all their channels. They had bought The Hustle years back, so they had their own podcast and newsletter, right? And so people started to openly talk about this lead flow crisis. They were calling it different names, right? People were debating GEO, AEO. I registered the domain last November. What is AEO? And then I kind of moved away from that. But the point I was trying to get across is, the large language models in particular are picking the winners now, right? And so you need to understand not just what you can do with AI and the tools that you can use to grow your business. All the things are great, but people need to understand the impact that it has on our business, right? And so you got to understand the rules to be able to play the game.
What I think was so interesting is because you and I met, I don't know, maybe a year ago for breakfast. And you started explaining this to me and you point blank asked me, like, Erica, when you go to Google and you type in your question, do you actually go and search the results or do you just look at what's at the top? And that was the light bulb moment for me where I was like, oh. And so I don't even think people are recognizing it. So they're not even seeing the change unless it is being pointed out to them. But you talked about LLMs are going to pick the winners now. Yeah. I totally agree. I totally see that. How do I make sure I'm a winner?
That is a very deep and philosophical question. Right, we're all winners.
We are all. I don't
Right?
want everybody gets a trophy here.
Oh,
I'm
you don't want
taking
that?
that gold
No
home.
participation trophies.
No participation trophies. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
the LLM winner. Okay.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we've done here at Walk West is we develop our what I call our 4P strategy, right? Which is podcast, partnerships, paid media, and public relations, right? And what I tell people all the time, there's two forms of growth that are going to help your organization, right? I think there's personality-led growth from one side, right? What we're doing, being on camera, because it used to be what you know, then it was who you know, now it's who knows you, right? And then the other side, you have community-led growth, right? So what are the ponds you're going to fish in? If the ocean that was Google has dried up, I always ask people, well, where are you going to fish? And so what we're trying to do is to say, like, hey, the first P is podcast. That's all around personality-led growth. The second P is around partnerships. That's around community-led growth. Go find partnerships. Go find ambassadors. Go find other ponds to fish in where there's some level of synergy. The third thing is paid media, right? I do think that people will naturally gravitate more to the thing that they know and recognize, but even it has its own challenges, right? If you think about the things that are contributing to the lead flow crisis, right? That's going to drive everybody to one kind of path, which then is going to drive up the cost for paid media, which then is going to create its own challenges for smaller organizations that may not have the budget. And then the last P is around PR, right? What people don't seem to understand. At the beginning of this year, I said to the employees here at Walk West, we're going to do three things really well. We're going to make sure that companies, our clients and ourselves are going to be seen, heard, and cited, CITED, by humans and machines alike for maximum results. It sounded confusing early when I was telling people. I said, trust me, it's not going to be just the humans that are going to be interacting with your brand. There is going to be a path for the machines. And the better that we can understand how to talk to the machines, the better we are about growing our business, combating the lead flow crisis, et cetera. And I said, but the only way that you're going to have a fighting chance to end up in AI search is to do all of these things across this unified comms platform, but you have to be cited. You can't go say, I'm the authority on the topic. Someone else has to tell the market or the machine that you are an authority, right? So seen, heard, and cited was the point I was trying to get at, and we used the 4P strategy to get there.
I love that. And I love that it starts with podcasts. That's where my journey started, just by chance, though. So I think it's an incredible case study for it. And partnerships alike. I mean, that is what I'm seeing more and more out there in the community, is just people who are like-minded individuals who have the same core values grouping together and amplifying their voices together. So awesome. One other thing you've been talking about a lot, this is what's top of mind for me because I'm your chief people officer over here. How do we balance AI with this human element? How do we continue to make sure that people are always at the center of what we do and who we are?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we wrote this manifesto, the human edge. And the whole point of what I was trying to get across is that your competitive advantage actually is your people, right? It's not just the machines, right? And there's always this kind of battle that people are debating, human versus machine. It's like, no, it's human plus machine. And the faster that you can understand that, the faster you'll start to understand the times that we're in right now, right? We are in the greatest upskilling in everyone's lifetime across the entire planet, right? AI is impacting and affecting every business, every person. It doesn't matter.
Every function.
I was at my son's soccer practice last night, and literally the coach was asking some question. He was saying, hey, if any parent can come help out, whatever. He said, if you don't know, he's only 6 years old, right? And they're like, hey, you don't have to be an expert in soccer. He said, you can go search it on Google, go on YouTube. He said, hell, use ChatGPT. He said, it may say some wild things, but but the point of it is it's everywhere, right? It doesn't mean that everyone's using it, and I get that, but it is, all encompassing around us. But I think that people, if they can net back to what are the things that our humans do, right? How do we leverage not just the human in the loop, but use that as your competitive advantage, right? Not just the machine. Someone is going to have to help you navigate. You're going to need experts. You're going to need generalists, right? You didn't ask this directly, but I think people need to understand that we are in an era of, some people call it the Renaissance era. We're an era of generalists. And I think the organizations that are built around these people that can do more than one or two things and not these silos. Now, going back to the human component, when you and I first started doing the podcast and when I was trying to recruit you in, I was like, hey, look, this is an upskilling. We need employee experience. We need HR professionals. And we started doing this. And then we had a guest earlier this year, Alec Coughlin, who's deep in the space. And he said, oh, like the Moderna case. And you and I were like, I don't know what you're talking about, right? But it turns out in May that Moderna combined their HR and IT departments, and they put the head of HR over top of it all, because what they recognized was this was a great upskilling. This was a reorg. This is a reimagining of how we work in the future of the workplace. And I think people need to understand that it's not just drop some tools and everything's going to work out. So I said a lot.
You did, but I think it's important that you talk about, how you go about doing this, because I think people hear it, they know they need to do it, but then they just get absolutely stalled with what is that very first step that they need to take. I'm going to do a plug, which is take our readiness assessments. Okay. Y'all, first 50 signups today with the podcast marathon can get it for free. High value here, so make sure you do it. But aside from a readiness assessment, we know where we are, but we don't know what to do next. What is that first step outside of the assessment?
I mean, taking a big step back, you and I do this a lot when we're talking to organizations, but one of the first things we almost always say is, first of all, let's work on the story. Stop talking about just your business outcomes and the things you want to happen when you haven't told all of your employee base where they fit in the story arc. I keep explaining to CEOs and other executives and calling them out for this. I'm like, look, you've not even made them a part of the story. So of course they're not going along. Right? You have to be able to scale the human spirit. They have to believe in where you want to go with this organization, right? And so you have to tell them where do they play a role. So what we always say is, look, you got to do three things when it comes to AI adoption out the gate. You got to make it personal, you got to make it fun, and you got to make it safe, right? They're not going to care about your business outcomes till they understand how it's going to improve their quality of life, their quality of work, right? Their growth within the organization. So be transparent. Like if you have a path for them, talk about that, then talk about your business goals, not the other way around. Because what they're hearing as humans, in the absence of information, we almost always go to the negative. And so when we just talk about our outcomes and what we want to do from a business perspective, what comes across is, oh, AI is going to replace me. But that was never the intent for many of these organizations. But what they missed was this is the greatest upscaling of all humanity, which means all of your employees. So historically, when you've done any type of digital transformation, you only had to worry about one or two potential saboteurs in this department or that. Now you got a third or more of your organization rowing against you. And there's actual data on this. CIO.com put out data and said that, the folks that they surveyed, over 30-something% of them admitted that they were actively sabotaging their AI initiatives and adoption. Of course, you didn't make them a part of the story.
Absolutely. And that's why HR will always have a job.
That is a fair point.
But what I want to talk about too is you often say the hardest thing, is ensuring that those people who are the saboteurs, what do we do with them next? How do we bring them along? How do we encourage them? And I'll be real transparent. Like we had some people who questioned what we were doing, and we've been able to make it safe, personal, and fun. How do we do that here at Walk West?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of what we did here is first, we didn't just throw them into the deep end. We had a lot of conversations, right? And I'm always the type of person that wants to start with the problem set. And what I was trying to get across is we have to change if we want to survive as a business. We have to lean in to where the times are going, right? The whole point of our podcast, AI Voice of Victim, we always say is you either ride the wave or get crushed by it. It is very binary, right? I'm literally wearing this black and white shirt that says just do it for that purpose. It is very black and white, right? And so we've started to help people understand this is the problem. This is what we need to grow your careers, to grow our businesses, et cetera, right? And to help our clients, for sure. And so what we did was like, all right, we're going to do some general primers. We're going to have some conversations. And then we broke the teams. We broke the overall company into multiple teams, right? And we created a leaderboard. We created a great hashtag, certified the Walk West way. We made a whole competition out of it because what we're trying to get people to do is to have their own aha moments, their own unlocks, right? How is it improving them, whether it's personally or professionally? And what we said is we don't care what certification you get, right? We don't care which product, right? Because at the end of the day, I always say natural language processing and prompting and talking to the machine is the new form of typing. Right? It doesn't matter what application, right? Those that know how to type are going to be able to blaze through any application. Those that know how to talk to the machine are going to be able to leverage what application they need. And so we did this. And, so step 2 is we're going to announce the winning team. We're going to see how people are unlocking. We have office hours. We also made it, so we made it personal, then we made it fun, and we made it safe, right? We don't care. Go use these tools. Go try to do something. right? There are guardrails, right? We're not going to put,
Client data.
client data,
Yep.
but things like that. But whether you choose to use Figma in some of their AI capabilities, or someone chooses to use Jasper, for copywriting, right? It's not just using, hey, how do I use ChatGPT or Gemini? We're a Google Workspace company, so we have Gemini. It's trying to showcase to folks what you can do with this, right? Whether it's Mid-Journey for creating images, or VO3 doing some quirky commercials, and I showed a duck video at our last company meeting, right? Just trying to get people to play around with these things, and then it starts to spark innovation.
How can companies figure out their tech stacks? Because there is millions and millions of AI platforms out there, and I'm getting sold left and right. As a chief people officer, those people hit me up every day in the LinkedIn DMs. And I know that if I'm feeling overwhelmed, how do other leaders make the decision on what tech stack to implement?
Yeah, I mean, that's a deeper question. I think first and foremost, I always tell people, it's people, process, platforms in that order always. I've been saying it for the last 15 years in digital transformation. It doesn't really matter what the platform or the technology is. If you haven't addressed your people, you haven't redefined or reimagined the processes, right? So you start there. Don't start with the technology. If you want to have a baseline of technology, again, going back to the typing analogy, I always advise folks, if you're a Microsoft shop, then it makes a lot of sense to use Microsoft and use Copilot, right, as a starting point. We're a Google Workspace company, so using Gemini makes a lot of sense for us. It's not the end all be all, but it's a good, place to start. Also, a lot of these companies, it's the guardrails that they put around their organization, right? But as you get more comfortable, and what you'll realize is that AI is going to be a part of every technology, every platform, every piece of software that comes out for the foreseeable future, right? And so you need to understand these basics, but then you start to net down on this group may have a different tech stack, right, than the other group, right? Our copywriting team may have a different, overall stack versus the folks that are doing some of the branding and some of the visuals, versus some of the folks like myself and others that are doing consulting that may be using a different set of tools. But at the end of the day, I would say that a lot of these, especially from a foundation model perspective, they're all kind of netting down to be within 5% of the same level of capabilities, right? So it's good to be able to be grounded there. Also, I think the switching costs are going to be pretty significant if you start bouncing around tools, because they won't get to know you, right? Part of the added advantage of AI is it starts to personalize the experience, right? It starts to know more about you, which makes it easier for you to communicate with the machine and easier for it to learn and know how you like to do things.
I got to tell you a little story about making it personal, safe, and fun.
Uh-oh.
I have learned how to make my chat call me whatever I want it to call me. So I tell it to call me queen sometimes. She's calling me baddie right now. But I also learned...
Just right now?
Just right. I changed it today.
Okay.
I was inspired. Okay. But I also learned how to make it talk to me as if it were Matthew McConaughey.
Oh my God.
So it now says, all right, every time. So it just makes it a little bit more fun. And I think if you have people who are like, I don't like these robotic answers, it's too AI, like, okay, have fun with it. It is a robot. Like, when else am I going to have Matthew McConaughey talk to me all day?
I'm learning so much about you right now.
I'm just
but
revealing
hopefully
all
you
the
do
things.
this so like with headphones on or something.
I mean, I'll let anybody so many people would benefit from hearing my conversations with Chad. I just let it go.
Okay.
But let's take a left turn.
Okay.
I want to talk about something a lot of people have spent a lot of time and money on, and now we're like, what the heck are we supposed to do? SEO. Right? SEO. We've all heard you got to have the hashtags. You have to do this. You have to do that. But they're not producing the same kind of results. And so it's like, do I just totally give up on it? How do I even go about it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you should give up on it. I think that the point, though, is that it can't be your dominant channel, right? Going back to the lead flow crisis piece of it, right? You still need to do, good traditional SEO. Then you also, in technical SEO and GEO or AEO, whatever you want to call it from that perspective, right? But what I'm trying to get across, and going back to the 4 Ps again, is that it's not as easy today to simply say, I'm going to grow my business through organic search or through email, right? Cloudflare put out some data, I don't know how long ago, a month or two ago at this point, where they said it used to be Google was, for every six scrapes, you would get 1 visit. Then it's more recently, it was like 18 to 20 scrapes. And then they say from a AI search perspective, from a ChatGPT, it was like 1,500 scrapes for every 1 visit. And then from Claude, I think it was 6,000 scrapes for every 1 visit. The reason why I'm kind of give those metrics is like, part of the problem as marketers, we've attached ourselves to these vanity metrics that probably we should have never attached ourselves to.
Absolutely.
Right. But at the same time, those metrics now have evaporated, right? Your ability to get, to track clicks, right? Attribution is going to be a significant pain point, right? And so what I tell folks is like, look, I can't solve the attribution challenge for you, but what I can say is that if you diversify the channels, if you do things on YouTube, short form video is huge right now. Part of the reason why we do the 3-camera setup with the podcast is so that we can have both the long form, the short form, so that we can post across different channels, social media. We can use LinkedIn and others. You have to have a unified comms play. We put out press releases. People should use these things to their advantage. Like a lot of times people use PR just in times of crisis. Start talking about all the good things that you're doing, because you got to show up everywhere. Right. And the other thing that I tell people all the time is I say, look, in the world of endless content that can be created at the push of a button, the difference between you and I is I can be on camera, on point, on stage all the time. Right. Like that's just, you're going to have to get that point across. Right. People aren't going to be trusting a lot of abstract brands. Right. We're in this age of taste and trust. And if you can't break through and show up in all the places. Right. That's the other thing about AI that people don't give it credit for. I learned so much through a different set of modalities, whether it be audio, video, text. You can meet people where they want to learn about you, how they want to learn about you, how they want to learn about your product, right? But if you're only focused on your website, and I don't know what the future of a website even means, right? At the end of the day, I think that's going to be the most challenging and jarring thing for folks, is that the construct that we've created has radically changed so fast. Right. And then there's so many tools. And so what I tell people is like, abstract out the thousands of tools, net down on the things that matter most, right? That can help you, but you got to diversify the channels, and you cannot focus just on SEO. Everybody wants to talk about SEO, like that's cool.
They pay a lot of money for some good SEO too.
And absolutely. And I called out a lot of folks in SEO space late last year. I was like, you guys are being disingenuous with what this AI search and this AI mode and what Google changes are what it's going to do. Like, you cannot credibly tell these folks that you're just going to help them show up in AI search. It is not that simple, right? One other data point, you didn't specifically ask this, but all these large language models, especially ChatGPT, for instance, they have some level of memory or context. Mm-hmm. It's going to create a filter bubble. Right. And what I mean by that is I wear a lot of Nike. I wear got Air Jordans, got my Nike t-shirt on. I talk a lot to ChatGPT about it, or Gemini and others. Adidas is going to have a really hard time breaking through my search because I talk to it about Nike so much. Right. And people don't understand all these different pieces of context that matter in SEO. And then going back to what I was saying before about being seen, heard, and cited, if there are other publications, use PR to get cited somewhere else, to then elevate your relevance and hopefully your authority, right, when these searches are happening. So long-winded way to say you got to do a lot of different things to give yourself a shot in AI search.
I like that. And one thing I think that has been so interesting for me to watch of you is the Greg Boone I knew of 6-7 years ago.
Okay.
Was the quiet CEO Greg Boone, right? Yeah. Like you were on camera, on point anytime, but it wasn't all the time. Right. And you've really evolved yourself, your brand, and you've recognized how the world is changing, and you have leaned in faster than most, let's just say. So I think it's a really cool evolution to see. But what's been the most surprising thing for you?
I think the most surprising thing for me is the I guess the lack of awareness to what is happening to businesses, right? I never imagined, because I sit on the board of multiple smaller companies, and I never would have imagined that it would have required so much pain for some business leaders, right? I'm not just talking about the companies that I work with or I advise, but even from a client perspective, and I get it, right? Like I always tell people that my parents were both farmers, right? Or their parents were farmers, and especially my mom's side growing up in Durham, North Carolina here, they were tobacco farmers, and they had 10 years to see the change, right? And for them to upskill, right? Folks don't have that love, you don't have that time. You don't have that window or horizon, right? And that's challenging for folks, right? Because they're fighting against it. And I'm saying, look, man, you don't have the same 10 years that the tobacco industry had to switch and pivot. It's like right now, this thing is moving so fast. And so for me, it's just that not recognizing, like I get it in previous generations, or like if we go back, take a step back to 2006, 2007 with the iPhone coming out, right? Even that had a little bit of a lag time as to how people were going to, evolve and change. But it was more about opportunity, the opportunity costs. This is radically different. There's opportunity costs for not leaning in, but then there's also this stark reality. I always tell people, I'm like, if you lean into AI, you'll likely make more money in your career. If you don't lean into AI, you likely won't have a job. It is that polarizing right now. And that is the thing that I think is very challenging. And so that's why for me, it's just like either ride the wave or get crushed by it. It's so interesting to me that people are choosing to stand still. They're like staring at the tsunami coming on the beach. And I get the inherent kind of feeling to run. I get some of the crazy folks like me that are like, oh man, that's a big wave. I want to see if I can go ride that. That might be awesome. What I don't get is just standing there and waiting to get crushed. And that's the thing that's been very challenging for me.
It makes me think of the parenting saying, the days are long, but the years are short. You think you have the time, you don't think it's going to go by that fast. But what we have seen is the rapid change. And when I was thinking about what we were going to talk today, I started thinking about when did I first start using AI kind of as we know it today? And I realized that I started when I was writing my book a couple years ago, but I was using it only for like a thesaurus, give me a different word or help me write a stronger transition. And, now it's evolved into my COO and my board and all of that. So, we have got to end this session with my favorite game though, because we're coming up on time, and that is last chat.
Oh boy.
You know it. Tell us what it is, Greg.
Last chat. That's when we ask, typically we ask our guests to whip out their phones and tell us what is the last thing that you chatted with your large language model of choice, whether that's ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever you use, right? And a lot of times you tell some very deeply personal chats. I'm waiting for the professional ones as well. And so, I'll start with mine. Usually I go last. Would you like for me to go last?
I would like for you to go first because I've got a fun one.
Oh my gosh. I was trying to not. All right. So what was my last chat? There's a lot. Well, it was actually very much on this topic. I use a lot of deep research, and I used to always joke folks, it's like, well, you can tell when someone uses ChatGPT to write an email. And I'm like, I almost never use it to write an email. And I tell people all the time, I don't AI search, I AI research. I've learned more in the last 6 months than I've learned in the last 5 years, right? And so in that kind of vein, as you can guess, I was doing the same thing that I was just talking about, which I was asking like, hey, do the large language models, this is my chat. It's not a very exciting one. Okay.
I'm listening.
So I was doing deep research chat in GPT-5, and I said, do LLMs do semantic relevance on my historical blog content to compare to new content when deciding if my content should show up in AI search? Then I gave it some examples. The point I was trying to do some research on was, hey, if an organization just automatically starts talking about AI today, but they've only been talking about cats or recipes for the last 10 years, is that going to downrank them in any way or whatever the equivalent is from an AI search perspective? So what I was trying to do research on was understanding, one, how are you going to combat that? But two, what are other areas or angles that we need to be thinking about as it relates to AI search? So it wasn't a fun one, but it was one that was going to help me in our work. So.
Well, I may have told you this, but I completely cleared my entire cache from my ChatGPT.
Okay.
I wanted to start fresh with her. And so, because I was a little disorganized, people who know me, my filing system is not very clean. And so I said, I'm going to start over. And so I gave myself folders, and I just want you to know, sir, that you have your own folder in my ChatGPT, but we're not going to divulge what's in the Greg Boone folder. I'm going to tell you the fun one that I did because I love when we talk about making it fun. And this is also personal, but every year we go to the mountains with another family, and every year I do a scavenger hunt for the kids because it keeps them busy. And I can also put in things like winner of the quiet game. They get a point, right? Try something new at dinner. They get a point. So those are my parenting wins, but I wanted to elevate my game this year. So I made every scavenger hunt thing first a riddle, and then they have to go find the thing. So I used it for like 16 riddles, answers, writing the clues, all the things. It was so fun.
Oh my gosh. All right.
So again, AI, you can make it super professional for your work. You can make it for your home life. Like that's what I love about it. It's so functional. It goes everywhere with me, everywhere with you.
Well, that's why people
monetizing
like when
everything.
we're speaking, people say that I'm the robot and you're the human in the loop. So,
I'm the personality hire.
oh, fair,
y'all.
fair.
I'm the personality hire. But y'all, this has been an amazing, fun episode. I didn't kill you on the personal questions
I appreciate
too
that.
hard. I just threw you one little fun one about your evolution. But, you know, at Walk West, we are here doing all things AI. Please remember that AI assessment. It is out there. If you are one of the first 50 to sign up, I think there's only a few out there left. So please make sure you go grab that AI readiness assessment. Greg, any last pieces of advice or words of wisdom?
When it comes to AI, you have to keep learning, constantly learning. I have 25 Gen AI certifications, not because I'm addicted to Gen AI, but because these things keep evolving. And the more that you go back to it and learn how to do different things, the better off you're going to be for the future.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on AI Voice or Victim. If you want to stay competitive in the age of AI, start now. Take one insight from today's episode and put it into practice in the next 24 hours. Make sure to follow us, share your thoughts, and subscribe for more actionable AI insights. See you next time.